Okay. Well, welcome. Mindful Monday. It's Monday. And I'm at least reminded that we're going to be mindful, even if I'm not moment to moment, but that's the whole practice, right? Hey there, again, it's Michael, and I'm happy to be here moving with you today. Although this distinction we have between this is movement and that is meditation, and they never meet. The more I practice both yogasana and meditation, the more convinced I've become that they're not discernible. You can't really ever. The more you tease them apart, the more you find the other interwoven. So that's it. That's all I'll say about that. Lest I dive too deep into the pool of yoga mysticism. I've been starting class with an idea or an important thought or a feeling or something to think about, to play with in the course of your daily life, or whether that's formal practice on a mat like I find myself today here with you in the sunny backyard, and that's why the shades and a little bit of sunscreen, because it's too nice a day and too warm a day to be inside. I want to be out here together with you. But in any case, totally lost my train of thought, and that's okay. That happens. Today we're going to be playing with balance, and right. I was starting with, speaking of mindful, I was starting with the idea. So here's an inspirational quote, if you will, or just an idea. So this is actually a quote from former NFL football player Jim Brown, who said, "Today I'll do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't." So I'm going to say that again, and I'll just the repetition so you can really take that in, really let it sit. Today I'll do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't. So if you let that just kind of sink in for a moment, think about what does that sound like? Doing something today so that we're building capacity, so that we have more flexibility, more mobility, more strength, whether that's mental or physical. It sounds an awful lot to me like practice. That's the practice of yoga. We do and I wouldn't even necessarily say what others won't, maybe what others are prevented from doing on a particular basis. Don't have the privilege to do like I do, as I find myself here on a beautiful day in August. And hopefully, you have the opportunity to, whether that's live here as part of the class or checking out the videos online. In any case, with that idea that you can take away and do with what you want, I love anything about the importance of practice. We're going to get into today's actual practice because we can talk about yoga, but at the end of the day, we want to practice it. So, okay. So why of today's practice? Why are we working with balance? Well, this is I am always sharing my own practice when I'm teaching, and when I've been looking at what my physical practice of yoga has been over the last, say, 6 months or a year, it's been many things, but one big component of it has been a real meditative, focused awareness breath practice, where I go to the park and I like anywhere outdoors, and that's part of why I'm outdoors today. And so here's where, actually, by the way, if you are watching this on video, maybe pause it, and if you've got a mobile, take it outside. Take the practice outside if you can. And if you're here live, same thing. You can catch up when you're set back up. But in any case, I go to the park, and it started as just balancing on one leg as a method of calming and finding some stability. Ironically, when feeling anxious, that certain way of plugging in and connecting with my body and having to take care of where it is in space, for me, has a really therapeutic effect. It really calms down my whole central nervous system. It absolutely allows me to be present with what's here, not what was or what might be. So my thoughts, they'll happen, but I'm constantly, brought back into direct experience of whoa, where am I in space? And that is an amazing part of the practice, right? This is what makes, I think, yoga different than some other modalities, many of which are awesome. But that we're really fostering this awareness and this communication between mind and body. And when we're outside, also between mind, body, and environment, because I can feel the breeze that's going to impact my balance. Even if it's light, the sun in my eyes is going to play a role. So things to not only be aware of, but just to play with, to have a little bit of fun with. You know, maybe something you've done inside for a long time, you take it outside and it's totally different, or at least somewhat different. I like this practice because it's so breath-based and it's simple. There's nothing too ambitious about it. It's just really like stripping the practice down to the basics of being and kind of rolling with it. And if that sounds too highfalutin, just wait a minute, we'll get there. Last bit, and this is maybe bringing me back down to earth, my thinking brain back down to earth, is that I totally dig this because it has, as it's evolved, it's become a play practice for me. And play means learning, and play means that I'm open and I'm curious, and it's really difficult to be in a tough or a negative emotional state if you're in a state of being open and you're in a state of learning or curiosity. So because I'm playing and because there aren't any rules, it always looks a little bit different. It's actually evolved over time from literally just raising one foot an inch off the ground and playing with that to you know, a whole series of playful movements to what I'm going to share today, which is a little bit of, well, asana it up, integrating a few poses from that place of play, okay, that place of awareness. So we're going to start standing today, and what I'll ask you to do is I'll just get myself ready here. You might want to take a drink. If you've got any props handy, as always, quick disclaimer, be sure to listen to your body. If a particular move feels beyond you today, then it's beyond you today. Balance a little bit of ease of movement with playing with your edge, like trying to challenge yourself. So if you need props, whether that is a block, or I didn't have a chair because I'm outside, but what I've got the, you know, I'm just playing with what I've got handy. This is part of my barbecue, so I could, you know, if I need to balance and I need something to hold on to, I'm there, okay? So you might want to pull a chair close, or in any case, have your mat or wherever you're practicing. Be within reach, okay? Because we want to have fun, but we want to do it safely. Okay, and if you're outside, here's another kind of interesting note. The very first thing I noticed is that I got all persnickety about my mat being dirty. As much as I love being outside, my mat, which feels super important and sacred to my practice, yep, I would use that word, it doesn't come outside very often. And so just the fact that it's got dirty out here in the backyard has it, you know, again, literally, I check in with my body and I notice, like, ooh, the pulse is rising. So that's where we're going to start. Just come to stand. Feel your feet on the ground, whether that ground is, I wipe away sweat, it's warm out here. Whew. Whether that ground is a mat, or it's carpet, or it's stone, or it's dirt, or it's bare floor. Imagine if it's dirt, that's awesome. There's a practice. Go in the garden and practice in your bare feet. Report back. Super cool. Okay. But for now, eyes can be open or closed. And in the same way I was noticing, you know, the fussiness of my mat not being clean, just notice what's going on. What's the state of your body? So I'm not trying to be too still. I'm just letting my body settle. Letting it kind of set the terms of engagement. So let your body do that too. Listen in. And if it's not clear what I mean by listening in, you're simply stopping and observing what's actually happening. What feels good? What feels not so good? Or maybe letting go of your judgment of all of these feelings, or none of these feelings if you're having trouble locating what's actually going on. Maybe letting go of the judgment and just dropping down into the language of raw sensation. So for me right now, and my experience is going to be unique to me. Wherever you are, it's going to be your experience. I feel heat in a direct way from the sun. Feel the unevenness of the flagstone below my mat, which already is throwing my balance off a little bit. Changing how I feel my way into the practice. I'll just give give my body a whole body scan, just a quick holistic. How's it going? Maybe roll my shoulders up, take them back, rotate wrists, or step out feet. Got it. Big inhale. And exhale out. So can you notice any resistance, any restriction in that breath? Just follow your breath. Don't control it. Don't try and shape it too much. Just let it be like your attitude, which is ideally easy and open. So if you feel the opposite of easy and open, if you feel restriction, if you feel tightness or resistance to what's going on, that can be really subtle. So pause, follow your breath. If your breath is calm, your body is like calm, your mind is like calm. If your breath is forced, you can follow the dots, connect them. There's other stuff going on. So we're not judging whether or where we are. We're not forcing it. Just notice if you can use this quiet moment. You're standing in mountain, standing in this pose, stability, or maybe not. Depends how it feels. Just being on one spot, fairly stationary, and noticing actually all the little movements, all the little adjustments and shifts of energy and muscles turning on and off to keep your position stable. Breath operating in the background and through it all. Now actually maybe bringing a little bit of control to your breath. So trying to bring it, drop it down, allowing it for not chest breathing or throat breathing, but really feeling the belly expand, not being shy about that. Let your belly go. Let it fill you up. And let it go. Begin to shape your breath to bring it roughly into a 1-to-1 count. So not one count of breath, but even inhales and exhales. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, exhale. Now continue that for a few more breaths, just a few cycles, modifying the breath to suit your body, your experience right now. It might be shorter, your inhales dropping down a little bit from what I was counting out. It might be longer. But wherever you are, just balancing that inhale and exhale. And we're going to make that not just the bridge between resistance and tightness in our body and then opening and just experiencing, getting to play in the practice and see what happens. That's one rule for the breath. Keep it flowing in and out. In and out. Notice I'm starting the breath down here. In and out. But if you lose your breath, either you hold your breath, which we often do if we're focusing, concentrating, or it becomes rapid, just drop back. Okay. And one thing as we begin to move here, so a lot of setup, but really the practice kind of is in the setup, and these are meant to be practices that you can take away into your day. So you don't have to practice like this or listen to me talking at you for 10 minutes. You can pick one little thing out and say, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that during my day, okay, when I notice. So transitions, a word about transitions. When we are moving, you might decide, so let's say I'm standing here and I was going to step back. You might decide as you lift to actually, with control, float and step back, okay, like this, or it might be step kind of on the fence line. So that's one way. That is a more advanced, kind of challenging, I shouldn't say advanced, but it is a more challenging way of moving through the pose, transitioning from one to the other. Another way you could do this, and it's similar in the sense that they're both mindful, they're both slow and controlled, is just to raise, so I'll do this on the other side. And you can be trying this in real time with me while I demo it. You don't have to kind of sit there. Trying is encouraged, okay? And go from here. If I'm not feeling, in fact, I might not even be that high, because my comfort level today might be here, okay, and he's down here, okay, or my access, my ability is right there. So as I begin to come back, I tap down, and up, and down, and little way of little tap, tap, tap. It is definitely not less than. You're still plugging in, and in fact, you can actually say, like, am I really aware? You can't see. So can you feel your way back into the pose, okay? There it is. Okay, so let's begin. We actually have already practiced that, like our first pose, which is mountain pose. So think about your floating or your sequential tap. Tune into your eyes, and let's actually begin by lifting one foot, just an inch off the ground. Notice the role your vision has. So maybe pick a stable spot that you're focusing on. Good. So go slow. Use your vision. Feel your center of gravity. This is probably already feeling challenging, so using props. You can see I've reached out for the hot sun-burning barbecue to hold on. And switch. You can also play with balance in your body. So if you're feeling unsteady, one thing, sort of trick, is bring your hands in together and press them together as a way of stabilizing this pose. Another way is to actually bend the knee and bring the lower leg slightly behind and allow the hip to drop. You may have seen, this is going to, not force, but this is going to actually encourage me to drop the weight into my big toe base of my opposite foot. That little subtle shift, and I am way more stable here. It's more work, okay, I'm working harder on my hip, but I've got that. Okay, and come on back. And then, just a little stamp it out. Okay, good. Okay, and actually today for our transitions, we're going to step forward or tap forward rather than coming back. Okay, just switch it up, keep things fresh so we're not always thinking or feeling that there's one way of practicing. All right, so again, finding that inhale, exhale everything out. So we're going to add to our little balance. Inhale, lift, one foot up. Notice I didn't say right, I didn't say left. Just pick a foot up. Good. Play with that balance. Try to square the hips without dropping the foot back onto the ground. Okay, now here what we're going to do is bring a little bit of engagement into our core. So the feeling of our muscles wrapping in towards our belly button, and our belly button drawing back in toward our spine. Okay, good. It might also feel like we're getting a little bit closer between our sternum and our pubic bone. Good. Hopefully you're feeling that. And then with that core engagement, notice I'm keeping my spine straight, okay, or in its normal curves, not straight, not straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring my knee up, try to keep my body quiet. And I might need to take a little break of that. So my hip is kind of screaming at me, my lower leg, pay attention. Okay. You can also, if you start to fall out one way, drop some weight back out in the other direction. You can see, whoa, and we waver. Right? Center of gravity, or point of balance between two sides. Good. And release, come back down. Opposite side. Inhale, lift that other foot up. Finding a really big base in the other leg. Applying whatever little tricks you want in order to find balance, or challenging yourself. So if you're here and you're like, I could do this all day, what's the big deal? Close your eyes, okay? Or look up. Watch how my balance gets messed as I look up. Okay, so, and you hear the laugh there? I'm not taking this too seriously, just playing with it, okay? Bend that knee, returning to that stable base. Okay, and notice I'm coming a little higher this time. Now, without leaning back, okay, using the support if we need it here, maybe even a slight lean forward so that we're really bending deeply into the front of the hip. Begin to straighten that leg. Good. Feeling an engagement through the other leg to hold you up. We can always take a break and come back. And again, these are just options. We could be where we were the first time around. Balancing, and come on back. Good. Now from here, we're simply going to move the hip in the opposite direction. Well, everything else stays the same. Spine is quiet, body is engaged. Breath, pardon me, is balanced. Inhale. Bend the knee this time and press your foot back. You might want to bring your hands to your hips for a bit of support. Good. And then, as much as feels comfortable, bring your heel towards your bum, towards your sitting bone on this, well, on the side that you lifted. And that will feel probably fairly, I was going to say interesting, intense through the back of your leg, your hamstring. Okay, so just back off. You can just kind of press it out if that's too much. You can also maybe reach back. Oh, notice how that throws the balance. Okay, and press into your hand. Take your foot back maybe. It's a little modified dance. You're supposed just to open up the front of the hip and let that go. And maybe shake out that standing leg, because that's a lot. That's a lot of work. Okay, opposite side. Start with balance. Find it in your body. Find it in your breath. Interesting to know, you may not have to at that point find it in your mind. Almost like you said to your thinking mind, you don't have any problems to solve right now. You don't have to worry about anything. Bring that heel up as much as feels challenging without being overwhelming. Notice your breath. I can feel mine, hear mine speeding up. As I try to talk and think about what's next and practice and connect with you and. We're all doing this all the time. Which is actually just kind of cool to know, right? It's a super reflective practice. We start, just stamp it out, shake it out. You start to see all these connections between things. And I'm just gonna get a drink. I encourage you to do that as well. Okay, and then how are we doing time-wise? Oh my goodness, okay. That's all right. Let's bring this into a little bit of movement. So I said we were gonna do step-ups. So, hanging out a little bit less time in each pose, each pass through. Hands can come to hips, hands can be in front, or they can be out to the side. Inhale and bring your knee up, and then allow your leg to swing. And you might actually want to keep the knee fairly low to start. Allow the leg to swing out, and then bring your toes in onto the mat. Okay, keeping your opposite hip point placed forward. Okay, like shooting a laser beam out through the front of your mat or straight ahead, not following through it to turn your whole body. Good. But you are allowing the other hip to open without forcing. Okay, any amount. This is not a race. And the foot also can be in various positions on the leg. Wherever we are, feeling our breath. How's your breath? How's your breath? Stay with it. Stay in this shape. Congratulations, you're doing yoga. Bring the knee forward. Okay, and then step forward again with support if you need it. Find yourself in a high lunge. And find this now in a two-legged balance. Okay. Allowing yourself to drop. Now I've inhaled and brought my arms up, which you can do, but that might not feel great. Okay, if it doesn't, take your thumbs out. Okay, so you're like going my way, both ways. Come wide. Ooh, already way more open. And up like that. Okay, it's totally up to you. You can sort of play with that. You bring the knee down. Okay, grounding that knee allows us to really open that hip up. It changes our relationship to the ground and to space. Good. Just making sure that we haven't kind of ducked our hip forward and sickled our ankle. We're here, we're supported, we're balanced. Maybe we come back up. Maybe we use our block to support us to push back up. Okay. So find a strategy that suits where you are today. And I'm going to actually tap back. Tap, tap, tap. Okay. Opposite foot. Notice my tendency. How far can I go? Maybe not a bit. Maybe supporting myself. Guiding myself. Ooh. Good. Coming down. Oh, that's super cool. You see the breeze has really picked up. It's literally blowing my tree around. Okay. I'm going to transition, and I'm going to tap, tap, tap into this high lunge. And this time, just for kicks, let's give ourselves an opportunity to either stay here or dip, but not dip all the way down. Instead, we just allow our body to come straight down. Maybe our arms come up to a T. Okay, you can play with whatever is going on. Almost stepped up. This time I float back and I flying mountain again. Okay, let me just wipe the sweat away. I want to shake that out of your hips. In fact, while we're here, before I get my drink of water, before you take a little break, just give the hips a roll. Ooh, I got a nice crack right in there. Just releasing. You feel this in lots of different places, up and down through the upper legs and into the muscles and the hip. Just letting that go. Okay, break. Or catching your breath if you lost it. Okay, how are we doing time-wise? We are almost at it, but we're good. Let's do one more sequence here. One more little play. Okay. So, find your mountain again. Shake the sillies out, I guess they'd say in nursery school, but a good friend Don says it's always high school. I've observed this to be true. You dig a little deeper, it's always nursery school too. So, shake those sillies out. They're there. Come on back. Find your mountain. Find a comfortable standing pose for you. Okay? Just not worried too much about what it looks like. Definitely not worried about that. Feel it. Okay. And now what we're going to do in our first sequence, our first sort of set through, the upper body stayed relatively stable, or relatively straight up and down. And we just balanced by hinging at the hip. This time I'm gonna, actually balance just by beginning. This time what we're going to do is actually hinge a little bit at the hip. So again, you may want some support here, okay? But find yourself up here, raise one leg, okay? You might kick forward and come back in, or you might not. And then hands come in. And then what we're gonna do is just bring the knee down, the foot down, and bring it back. And then again, we find that kick. So we've built these movements in our body already. We've got a bit of practice being here, okay? Arms can also come out for even a different relationship to balance. And just begin tipping at your hips. Keep kicking your bum. So you're keeping your body a little bit shorter by keeping that leg up. And then, and only then, you can extend it back, unless you're me, because you're up against the fence. I'm too close to it, okay, kicking. And you're there. Okay. And a little float back. So that's Warrior 3, or different versions of Warrior 3. Okay, lift that opposite leg up. Okay. Maybe come up, and actually, here's another way of supporting. Give yourself a little hug. Hug that leg in. Okay, maybe drop back down. Different kind of pose. I'm actually going to just sneak forward here because of our fence, but I'm hugging, and then I can slowly release and take the leg out. Breathing here, turning this opposite hip to my standing leg down. Noticing if I'm bending through my body by lifting my upper back up, bring the back of my head back in space all like that. Little dance, come on back. Good. And I say a moment ago, may look like, remember, I can't see you, even if you're here live with me, I can't see you well, so you have to kind of play with and become the own author of your own practice, which is awesome, because that's yoga, man, that's life. No one else can do it for you, you just gotta, you can ask for support, but that's why I hope I'm here for you. But ultimately, it's yours to play with, yours to practice, yours to live and do. Okay. With that, let's bring the practice to a close. Now at this point, if you have a mat, you want to come into corpse pose or any sort of reclined position. That's totally cool. That is, of course, how we mostly conclude the practice. Today, I'm actually going to stop just like this. I'm going to open up a little bit and open my stance a bit, but I'm just going to find a standing corpse pose, if you will. Be sitting. You might even be on your belly, your head on your hands. There's no right way to do this. There's no wrong way. Just lots of different ways. Check back in with your breath. Without the impositions, the distractions of shifting our body position. Make it a little bit easier not to lose sight of the breath. Here again, we check in as a way of concluding the practice. It's a way of reflecting on yourself, reflecting on your experience of what you've just done, what you've just done. Notice that play of restriction or resistance versus openness and expansion in your body. Notice the character of your breath. Breath hasn't changed at all over the last half an hour. Mine, it's calmer, it's more even, and actually I was pretty chilled out to begin with. I had been practicing a little bit earlier, and it's amazing how quickly it just drops back in. Unless it doesn't, or maybe you're stirred up, and that's okay too. We'll try it again. Allowing ourselves to create conditions so that our bodies and minds can find that natural homeostasis, that state of perfect balance that exists in us, however we are. It's available to all of us. Our bodies are designed to find it. And if this practice in any way allowed you to find that as well, however briefly, that's the practice. We keep coming back to it. And that makes me happy. And thank you for coming to practice. Peace out. Namaste. Before we truly conclude, I was going to say something else. The other thing beyond that I've been doing recently, beyond offering kind of an interesting thought or something that I've been playing with in my practice to start the practice. So today, remember, it was that quote about practice. Okay. We do the things today, others won't. So we can do the things that we can. Here's the quick paraphrase. Tomorrow. We're not worried about how we do today. It's all building toward it, right? I've also been sharing these little bits of homework. We'll chalk it up to the bad habits of a recovering or a lapsed school teacher, as being in the summertime here. And that is, I've noticed in my own, I was doing a lot of computer work this week in my off time, and I got disciplined and set a timer. And I found that doing that every 20 minutes so that I would get up and move around for a minute or two, it was so, even though I tend to do that anyway, I know it's important. Hey Deborah. Then by tracking the timer, I noticed that I wasn't doing that, actually getting up as frequently as I thought. It was often running 10 or 15 minutes even later before I got up. So suggestion, if you're doing a lot of computer work this week, download a timer. There's lots of free ones online. Pop it on your desktop, set it for 20 minutes. You'll be surprised, take my word for it, on how quickly that happens. That 20 minutes sneaks up on you. And then breathe for a minute, or practice one of these balances that we did this week for a minute. Just give it a try, okay? There's the homework. Be well. And